All right. It's just preparing. They might be able to see us, but we can't see them yet. All right. Alrighty. Here we go. I can see it spinning. Okay, great. We're on and we are live. Welcome back, everybody. Hello. You all know who I am, Caroline Beste of the Horsemanship. This is Everything Horses and More, weekly, monthly live streaming podcast. We are here to educate, liberate, and inspire horse owners around the world. You all know who my lovely co-host is. We've got Lydia Primavera. And today, hi, Lydia. Today, we have a special guest. Hi, Nancy. We have Nancy Zintsmaster of the Resnick Waterhole Ritual Method. Yay, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. You are the co-founder of Resnick Method Liberty Horsemanship. All right. I want to say that correctly.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, welcome. This is exciting.
You, Caroline. I'm very excited to be here.
Thanks. So today our title is Liberty Training, and it's a collaborative interview, so to speak, between Nancy and I about each other's work. The similarities are intense. And so today we're going to be talking about liberty training, the foundation to all things possible with horses, with guest speakers Nancy Zintsmaster, liberty expert and co-founder of the Resnick Method Liberty Horsemanship. How many of you know Carolyn Resnick? And me, Caroline Beste. I am a relationship, rehabilitation, and riding as one specialist. So we're gonna begin. So this, like I said, this is a little bit different. Usually I just interview guests, but because I am a fan of your work, and I never knew you, but I met Carolyn Resnick back in 2006. I don't know if she'll remember it, but we had a phone conversation. I was in Maryland. I just got back into horses and was developing my approach, my methodology. And I think it was 2006. And I was really struggling. I had been studying with some of the top professionals and traveling. And I had my Trinity, my 3 horses that I got back into horses with. And it just wasn't working. All the technique, the mechanics, I had lost my soul, my spirit for the work. And I can't recall, the internet wasn't like it is today in 2006, but I do remember trying to find spirituality, because I'm all about spirituality and horses. And I was searching on the internet, and the only thing that came up was Carolyn's book. What was that? What's that book called?
Naked Liberty. Amazing memoir. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. So I went and ordered it or bought it. I don't even know if Amazon was around.
I was just thinking, is Amazon there then? I don't know.
No, I don't even remember. God, we're dating ourselves. But I read the book, and that's how I found her website and got in contact with her. And officially, I was her first coaching student.
Wow.
So yeah, she was thinking about getting into coaching. And I know I didn't
coaching online.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right, because that was right about when she started that inside circle thing. Yeah,
I wanted to save that little nugget. I didn't tell you about that, so I wanted to, because it's cool.
Yeah,
it is really cool. And my fascination with Carolyn was all about the liberty, and we'll talk more after I introduce you and we get into talking more about you, how why liberty became so important to me. And it was the big missing piece in my studies at the time. Even though everyone was trying to attract you with liberty, it's no matter where I went or traveled or studied with, I was like, this isn't liberty. This isn't what I remember with my late horse. And so you keep searching, you keep asking the right questions, and I found Carolyn. And so I studied the water hole rituals to a point. I didn't commit myself, meaning I had my own, way and relationship with my late horse with Liberty and riding bridleless and bitless and all that. So, but the connections was beautiful for me. It connected. I could connect to her work so beautifully.
Yeah.
It was so akin to me. And here we are today. It's really cool, you know,
So
just
cool.
by happenstance, you and I met.
We sure did. That was funny. Yeah.
It was. So Nancy, I'm going to read a little bit about you for those of you that are not familiar with Nancy, co-founder of Carolyn Resnick's work. So Nancy is, as I just explained, co-founder, master trainer, and certified clinician in the Resnick Method Liberty Horsemanship. And you reside in Costa Rica.
I do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So you guys should check out her website. And you can just go to Carolyn Resnick. What is your website?
It's carolynresnick.com. Yeah.
Yep. And I think there might be video or some pictures of your beautiful facility.
The events page, they can see that. Yeah. It's a special place.
Good. Sure. It is. It looks amazing. So Nancy is a testament to the transformational power of Carolyn Resnick's method of liberty training, the waterhole rituals. Like many, she'd been naturally drawn to horses since childhood and sought their company every chance she got. But it wasn't until she found Carolyn's book, Naked Liberty, that she understood the depth of connection she could aspire to have with horses. In Costa Rica, Nancy found herself rescuing 5 horses in dire conditions and choosing the path of liberty training in the Resnick method to gain their trust and respect. What began as an effort to save these horses, it morphed into a journey of personal transformation, and it became clear to her that these sentient beings had so much more to teach her than she had to teach them. Isn't that always the truth?
It is so true.
Finally, she connected with Carolyn herself, and a life-changing partnership began. Carolyn was impressed with her natural gift with horses and moved by her palpable passion for Carolyn's teachings. Nancy has since then become the biggest advocate for the Resnick method, firm in her belief that all horse lovers should have the same opportunities she had to connect with horses. As master trainer in this method, she's determined to travel worldwide to spread the word on this powerful and effective way to communicate with horses, to ensure a better treatment of horses with greater rewards for horse lovers. You can find her with her rescue horses on her ranch, Dance with Horses. I love that, in Costa Rica, situated at the top of her own mountain, overlooking Lake Arenal and the Arenal. Is that how you say it? Arenal or Arenal? Arenal volcano. It's amazing. The pictures are just amazing.
Yeah,
I can only
it's
imagine.
Pretty magical place. I have to pinch myself every day. You know, you get used to where you live, and then you go, oh yeah. Look at this place.
How long have you been there? Yeah, how long have you been
20
in Costa Rica?
years. Yeah.
Wow. And how long have you had your farm?
Same. We bought this piece of property, and before we lived in Key West, Florida, and we didn't have horses there. So it was kind of the deal I made with my husband about retiring here. He said, that's cool, but I have horses again. And so we had the farm, but it's morphed into a retreat center now. So
yes, retreat. Yeah. It's beautiful. What a place. All right. So I've got a bunch of questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. And of course you can go off in any direction, you know, I might inspire something completely different. So I'll start it and you take the lead.
Thank you.
First question I have for you. Can you tell me how it all started for you? What sparked your interest in horses? Where did it begin?
It began back when I was a young child. My grandfather, he was quite the horse whisperer, and he had a Welsh pony breeding farm. And we lived in the city, and all of our cousins lived near him in the farm in the Eastern Shore of Maryland. So, you know,
where I grew up.
Right. We have this in common, that we have a lot in common about our upbringing. But yeah, so we would go from, you know, the area, Silver Spring, to the Eastern Shore on the weekends. And it felt like it was like a long trip, 1 hour though, when you're little. And we couldn't wait to get there. And every weekend, my pop-up would put us on the horses, and he was so patient and walk us around in circles. And I'll never forget this one time. And I think by then I was like 6. he gave me a horse, and we all the grandchildren got a horse, and Melody was her name. And he was quite strict too about safety and how we were supposed to be with horses. And this horse did not want to leave the barn area to go out into this pasture where he wanted me to ride. And he was all about, bareback and just with a halter and everything. And so I couldn't get the horse to get away from the barn. And he was like, yeah, and kind of gave him a little tap. And this horse took off. I can't believe he did that to me now when I think back, like as a grandparent myself, I would never
He's all about safety.
And this horse was like flying around the pasture, and my uncle's farmers, they were cracking up. They thought it was hysterical. And my mom, who was the city slicker, because she kind of got away from there, she was freaking out. And I was having a ball. I was a little scared, obviously, but I was holding on to the mane. I had my seat bareback, and I never came off the horse. And from then on, I'm like, this is it for me. I just wanted to do it again, And so that's kind of how my love for horses started. And so every weekend or every summer, I couldn't wait to get back there just to be with those horses and hang out in the pasture and just, the same dream we all have as a young girl if we love horses.
That's where it starts. You're right. So many of us have similar stories. That's beautiful. Yeah. So, how would you describe your method of liberty training for people who are unfamiliar with your approach?
Sure. Yeah. Well, this is a method that Carol.
Let me ask you this real quick. Let me ask you this. And it might be in one of these questions. I might be skipping around a little bit, but before you talk about the uniqueness of your liberty method, why were you drawn to liberty? Okay.
I'm glad you asked that, because that is an important part of the story. So after I got back into horses, which was here in Costa Rica, my husband bought me a horse for my birthday. And then of course we had to get another horse so it wouldn't be alone. So we had these two great horses, and we were riding all the time and just kind of being semi-retired. And we went to look for a saddle, and I came across 4 shut down, really emaciated horses that needed rescuing. And when I say 4, this was a herd. I had rescued another one just after that, Apache, who is amazing now, but he was very aggressive, dangerous horse. People couldn't handle him he was ready to go to the meat market, basically, here in Costa Rica. So I rescued him, and I rescued these 4 horses, and they were so checked out, all of them. And I hadn't experienced that before, because any horse I had in my life, and I had a horse farm in Maryland, in my 30s, I didn't have that because I spent a lot of time with my horses. And
it's a sadness when they're checked out like that. You can feel it and see it.
Yeah. And here, not all, but there's a lot of that here, because horses are used for work, and, they're not pets. Yeah. And so and if people don't have food to put on their table, they're not feeding their horse. The horse is going to go out and get what it can off the land. So these horses were really, really shut down. And I gave the lady an ultimatum. We went to look at a saddle, and they were there. And it's a weird story, and I won't spend a lot of time on it, but I had looked at these horses years before that when I was looking to buy a horse. And they were all really young and green stallions, And then the mare, of course, was there. And it wasn't for me. So I passed on it, but I knew who the woman was. And she actually kind of hoarded animals. She had tons of animals, exotic cats and all kinds of stuff. But these horses were so thin and so hungry. There was a 3-month-old colt, nursing on the mom who was eating rocks, and it was just a mess. So she was in the States at the time, and her caretaker was there and said, we don't have enough money. She's not sending enough money. I said, let me talk to her. So I told her, I said, I'm going to take these horses out of here. We will figure the rest out later, but they're coming with me. She agreed. So from there on, I just planned to kind of bring them back to health and adopt them out. But I was too new in Costa Rica to realize that wasn't going to happen. No one's going to adopt these horses out and treat them the way I had. And it took me a year to bring them back to health. Now they're a unified herd with my other 3, and I'm attached. So we were in the property management business, and we were building vacations for people. So I started bringing like-minded clinicians in that could help me get to the heart of these horses, because I hadn't experienced that. And I didn't have formal training as a trainer. I just kind of always knew what to do with horses, And I brought in a lot of them, and nothing was resonating with my horses or me. It was just not the right fit, different types of natural horsemanship and different things.
Yeah.
Until
Yep.
Carolyn I found out about Carolyn from a close friend here who said, have you ever heard of her? And I'm like, I have, but I don't know of her work. Read the book, got all her videos, and then she sent a trainer, and it completely transformed my life and my horses' lives forever. From the moment that woman started that clinic, my horses were checking in. And then 5 days after she left, Apache actually jumped in my arena. It was locked, and he came from the pasture, jumped in the arena, because I was told to make it the sweet spot. I made it the sweet spot, and this was like transformational. I couldn't believe it. It was like magic, and I'm not kidding. It was just that magical. So I just got really into it and excited about it. And then I knew what to do now. So I was doing it. And then all of this magic was happening. And I said, to my husband, I always wanted to be a horse trainer. My parents would not let me do it. They said I had to go to college and I could do it as a hobby, but it, same thing if you want to be an artist back then.
Yep.
And,
yep.
I didn't, I obeyed the parents, I went to college. And then I got away from it. I went into business. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I never really worked for anyone else. And then I said, this is my path. This is my journey. I was meant to do this. This is my purpose. Like I finally had a purpose. And it was going to be that I was going to share this method. And it was funny because Linda said to me, whatever you do when you meet Carolyn, do not tell her you want to be a teacher, certified teacher, because she's going to ask you, when are you going to be the student? Because I knew already I wanted to just share it with the world before I was even really in it long,
That is great.
Then I studied with her in that insider circle thing that you were talking about, her master class, which was like before the times of master classes that she did on Insta Teleseminar. And I met her on there, and she barely ever coached me. She would just be like, nice, and I was starting to feel like, why isn't she talking to me about my, what I'm doing? I have to be doing something wrong or whatever. Come to find out, I called her for privates. I said, okay, I want to study with you privately. And it ended up that she was so impressed with the magical relationship I had with the horses, because they were always like laying all around me, when I was sharing territory. And she was blown away by that and didn't want to touch me, because she said, I don't want to wreck that. Like whatever's happening there, it might not be about one of my exercises, but it's what we're looking for. So she left it alone.
Yes.
And I started working with her. And then she asked me right away, do you want to teach the method? I was like, yes. So she started really years and hours and months worth of time into making sure that she taught me all of the nuances of this method. And it has been a magical relation. I say that word magical all the time, sorry, but it's just so amazing for me.
It is.
Because to see this communication system transform horses like that, you're into liberty training, and it's true liberty, right? It's not patterned liberty where we're teaching on the line and then taking off the halter. It's not treat training. We work with it, but in a different way. So for me, it makes so much sense. And my whole entire being was about, all I really wanted to do was give horses a better deal. And that's Carolyn's mission. And so, seeing these horses that if you had to take the worst of the worst shut down from the way humans had treated them, to see them the way they are today is a testament to the method itself. So that's how I became interested in liberty training, because it was what I was exposed to that worked for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can relate so well. Anybody that is interested in liberty, how can that not resonate with you?
Right.
So
even if you're not interested in liberty, if you could see transformation, where a horse is free and he can have
it can only start there. It can only start there. That's the key. That's exactly. What I want to drive home with liberty to all of you is you can't have this level of horse human consciousness, the transformation for us and the horses on so many levels. Oh gosh, personal, to the horse's ability to trust us, to the communication, to the cohesiveness, to the partnership. It's truly not going to happen unless you start with liberty.
Absolutely.
Because the horse is free. The horse has choice, and you're learning how to get permission. You're learning how to get the favor, earn the respect, earn the trust.
Yes.
And in that process, you learn so much about yourself.
Absolutely. You have to, because if you can't go in and be there, be 100% present, be authentic to who you are, the horse sees right through that, right? They're not feeling safe in our company then. They're like, I don't know who you are, but when you can get real, I'll check in.
Or I don't know what's going on, but I don't like it. I'm out of here.
I'm over there. I'll wait till you get it together. And that's the beauty of, that is the beauty of what I love about the way Carolyn has put together this method of communication. You know, it was based on her observation of horses in nature, and that's what she wrote her book about. And because she observed these natural interactions with the horses and started, she didn't go there, do that, say, I'm going to put together a Liberty program. She did that. And then as a young girl, everything changed between her and her horses. So she was doing things she didn't know what they were necessarily. But the biggest part of it was waiting for the horse to make that first interaction with us, sitting there, asking for nothing, and letting the horse invite us into his world instead of us always going at the horse for something. And that's where it really shifts for the horse, because that's when they say, I want you to come into my world. And you can say, oh, I'm ready, you know?
Yes, I think that's the hardest for people, because we are hardwired to be so linear and focused and task oriented. And you really have to get outside your head and be committed to learning the language of the horse and what works for the horse, not what works for us, until we make that switch. Because I've been on the other side. I've been on both sides.
Yeah.
I started out innocent and learned, like Carolyn did, liberty with my late horse at the age of 9 and 10 and all the things I teach today, but I wasn't thinking about it. I didn't know what I was doing. It happened organically. So when I came back into horses, I had to rethink that. Carolyn, making that connection with Carolyn helped me get back to that place within me, you know, and away from all that technicalities and the mechanics and the robotics and the condition, you know, the positive, negative reinforcement crap, the pressure and release, the conditioning response, the treats. It ruined me when I got back into horses. And I was just so ready to learn and eager as a student, but I was learning a lot of the wrong things. So I've been on both sides. Well, you know, I had to leave me and not want to come back, because I was boom, boom, boom.
That's a hard one. And one of the things that was such a blessing for me, even though it was something that made me feel like maybe I wouldn't excel as much in it, was the opposite, because I didn't have any of that. I only had the formal training that came to me was these clinicians that I brought here that were doing different natural horsemanship methods. But I didn't have formal training before that. I didn't have anything that twisted my mind into thinking I had to do it this way. So that thing that happened here on my ranch with my horses that I didn't know was so amazing until Carolyn actually told me, was because I didn't have an agenda. And I was out there. I didn't know what I was going to do with them. I just wanted to be with them. And therefore, that bond grew so deeply that anything I asked him to do after that was easy. That was the thing, you know? So it worked out well for me, because I didn't have to undo, and you had to undo, you know, you have to go rewind.
Not too much. A little bit. I'd only been a year in, so I was fortunate. And all I had to do, and a year in with multiple different people, all I had to do was sit back and I just stopped. I stopped, period. I stopped for like months with my horses, and I just had to read and journal and go back to what did work. I was fortunate in that. I know what you're saying. I didn't have any formal education other than trying this one and that one. And I was so ambitious and so agenda and so goal oriented
Yeah.
and so linear. That was a huge learning curve, just knowing your own personality and being type A and an entrepreneur like yourself.
Yes.
I don't know if I think you're type A too, probably,
I'm
Nancy,
definitely a type A. And I
good.
definitely wanted a map. Like I used to beg
Yes,
Carolyn,
yes,
tell me what to do. She's like, nope, figure it out. I
yes.
had to figure it out. You figured, she is not
Well,
paint by
that's
numbers.
good.
Yeah. But I'm like,
Good.
I need step one, then I can do
I
step
know.
two. I'm not anymore, but it took me a while to get off that for sure, to really
Oh, yeah.
be in it and figure it out, So
Me too. That's the personal growth. Yeah, that's the big transformation though. It's like if you own it, you allow yourself to face those fears, those demons, whatever you want to call them,
yes.
weaknesses in yourself.
Yeah.
If you allow yourself to own it, and my biggest teachers were my horses too. So my Arab, I tell the story all the time. I mean, he just, I wasn't going to let anybody tell me what to do or I had to figure it out. I'm stubborn and I have a lot of integrity. I still wanted to figure things out for myself, but I was hitting a brick wall and my Arab just kept hitting me right back. Like, nope, nope, nope. You're going to have to figure this out or I want nothing to do with you. So
yes.
That was a huge drive for me. I was like, holy cow, this really sucks.
I get it.
Oh, well, this personal development stuff is really hard. I didn't know I was signing up for that. All of that.
I honestly said this to somebody just not too long ago. I've been successful in all the businesses that I've had, but I realized through the horses and how difficult this journey is, that it is the hardest thing that I've ever had to do, was to really take a look inside and I wanted this so badly that I can tell you it's the hardest thing that I've ever done. And then I realized something about myself. I chose things that I excelled at to be in business, things that I'd liked, things I knew I could do well. So they were easy for me. So when I got into this, it wasn't that easy for me because of the part where it's about going in, the personal growth. And so, now we have people like you and people like Carolyn and me sharing with people how to get there, but I don't think in the past there has been that many that have done it our way, and I say our way, even though it's a different method, but you have the same idea of how it has to start.
Yes.
You know
the
what I
mean?
mean?
Goals.
Right. And people are profoundly excited that they can see these shifts in the horse immediately and without having to do much. So that's the part I think that keeps people
the
sticking.
Biggest piece is us. Yes, the biggest piece is us. And I know, you and I spoke a few times before we had today's podcast, getting to know each other and make sure it was a good fit. And it is. Yeah. But I'm just still amazed that we have so much in common.
I know.
From where we grew up, lived, our personalities, our similarities, our, being entrepreneurs, things we've struggled with personally. But this Liberty thing, I mean, if I could never ride again, I wouldn't have to. And Liberty, I just want everybody to know too, that Liberty, we have this thought in our mind, Liberty, and I did for a long time, even as a professional. I don't think it was until I slowed down and pulled back from my business a few years ago to focus on all the online content I wanted to create.
Sure.
that I took that, I pulled back from my work with my horses, and I really absorbed the thought in the actualization, the knowing that every day I have every encounter with my horses throughout the day is liberty, is an opportunity to be free with them in connection and conversation. That liberty doesn't have to be, okay, let's go to the round pen or let's go to the pasture and make something happen. Liberty is an opportunity that you choose with the intention of, I want to connect with you. I want to have a conversation with you. I want it to be free. I want us to find a way to agree and to want us both to want to work together. work together. So
Absolutely.
liberty can be in everything you do.
That's the way it should be. And that's one of the things that I love about this method. And in our masterclass, I'm always saying to people, look at the practical reason that we're learning this exercise. How are you going to use this in your everyday life while you're interacting with your horse? It's not about performance.
Yes.
So we
Get out
don't
of the
address
box.
problems, right? We're not addressing problems. It's not about the performance. And so what happens is if you're not addressing the problem,
relationship,
right, and you're not pushing through resistance and you're only focused on the relationship, it speeds up the training. So on the other side, you've already got, like, the horse is trained. I never had to train my horses to get a saddle on them, teach them, break them, all that, because
correct.
They're already there. They're like, I know that. I know that. I'm like,
and I trust you. That's the beauty of the relationship. In performance, I never thought of it about it in that word, and that's the perfect word. That we're, me included. I've been there. You're so stuck on the goal, the agenda, the performance, the task. How do I look? How should it look?
yes.
And you forget that. Why are you in this to begin with? You should be in it for the relationship, the connection, the peace and the harmony that it gives both of you. And when you can achieve that level of trust, anything's possible. Like you just said, you even when it comes to rehabilitation, which is a lot harder because you've got so many layers of damage.
Yes.
I'm not, that's one thing I wanted to talk about too. I mean, Liberty, I don't know how much you work with traumatized horses and rehabilitation in the method.
Yeah.
I know I've spent most of my career rehabilitating horses in my method to give them the foundation so that they can blossom and be trusting. But boy, there's well,
they almost all need to be rehabilitated, because I rarely come across a horse in a clinic or in a private session or at a rescue that is just mentally stable and okay, because a lot of people don't even know what liberty is. I had somebody in this one little post that I posted, Horse Mimics Human, which was this cool, spontaneous thing that happened to a friend of mine, has gone viral. And these people are going, what is liberty? What is liberty? And I'm shocked by it. I went to South Florida, where my husband's family lives, and they're like, why don't you start doing clinics here so we can see you more? And I went to a couple local equestrian centers, and they didn't know what it was. So
I am a fish out of water here. I am a fish. I mean, I have students in Florida, but believe me, Florida is a mecca for horses, right? In every discipline. I have the World Equestrian Center 20 minutes up the road from me, and they are so discipline oriented. Performance oriented. Yeah, it's a different world. It's a different mindset.
And
really is different.
When I explain this, which you asked me, what is your type of liberty training, which I will get to, but when I explain it, I think sometimes people go, yeah, right. Like, could it really be that easy, Yes. And I wrote a blog not too long ago, could something this good be this easy? And a recipe inspired me. I read that and I'm like, that's the horsemanship. It's not very hard. People overthink it, But I think what makes Carolyn's method so appealing to me, and why it makes sense to me, is because it's based on the natural instincts of the horse completely. And when she put this method together, these waterhole rituals that she called these 7 rituals, they each build on the next one, but they're all based on the instinct that horses have when they're born, And so the way they interact with their mother, the way the mare teaches the foal, the reason we work around food a lot, not treating, but food, is just because it's the first lesson a foal learns when he's born, when to nurse, when not to nurse. It teaches flexible boundaries. It teaches the horse, sometimes I'm going to let you be close, but sometimes I want you over there. And one of the biggest things I see that people have a problem with from all of the online, meaning with tack, groundwork, things that they do, is that they can't get the horse to get away from them, So that taps them into their natural instincts. So, but they're kept so close on a 12-foot line so much, or in a round pen, where they really have no freedom whatsoever. That's the one thing that we don't work with is a round pen. Now we do for advanced work, transitions, but I can work in a round pen because I'm never going to pressure the horse to face up. But people tend to do it thinking the horse is at liberty, but they're still pushing the horse and the horse has nowhere to go. So this form of liberty is about the horse being in a free and open environment where he has a choice, he has a voice. We get to know the horse while we're sitting in the chair. We get to know and see who he is. So then we can begin to shape his behavior. So once he starts to interact with us, that's when we start to set boundaries. And the horse then goes, oh, wow, there's a leader. There's my leader, which is what they want, right? That keeps them feeling safe. So there's these little things that are easy to do that are creating this bond, this trust. If you think about dogs and horses, the reason we're so connected to our dogs and they listen to us, we can just talk to them, is because we live with them. So if you spent that much time, like I did with Pericles, who's a whole nother story, that a horse I got that was, whoa, he just needed time. I spent time with him and he's like a dog now. Like he would follow me anywhere. So, I think that people need to go back to thinking about, showing up at a stable once a week is, if it's all you can do, it's all you can do. But it isn't developing that connection that the horse gets to know us on that level, really.
Yeah. And without pressure, a connection without pressure, with just really getting to know each other. And that's beautifully put. And that's the difference between your method and my method. Is I recommend that everybody starts in a small space or a round pen, but I go about it differently than you do. And my purpose for that is because most horses are so inhumanely abused in the round pen and in lunging. It's like, how I don't know what you do, and we don't have 4 days or 4 more hours because it can get so deep. But in my experience, when I meet a student and a horse for the first time, I do an assessment. I don't just start working with them, and it's a test for the horse to see what you know and how you feel. And it's done in a small space like a round pen, but it's in how you feel about pressure. And like you just said, I don't want to go in there and put pressure on the horse, but how do you feel about pressure? Because 99% of the horses hate pressure. It's such a negative association, and then they just flip out and you can't get anywhere. So it's a different way of going about.
There's a fine line. Yes, there's a fine line, because it's about the pressure. It's about lunging in a round pen at liberty. It's about saying, and I mean, just saying to the horse, you know what, you just run until you can face up, isn't what you do. And it isn't what I do. Going in, and if the horse has the freedom to choose, like I said, I could go into a round pen. What happens, and what I've noticed, and I don't do the same work as you, but that would work too. If I did what you're doing, would for sure, because you're saying, you're not putting pressure on the horse where he can't escape. That's the whole point about the round pen. If he can't escape, then he can't escape your influence. It's not true freedom. But if, but if I go into a round pen and I've had to teach clinics in them when it's pouring rain or something and people don't want to be out in it. And I just make sure that the horse knows he can still go that way if he doesn't want to go that way. So
you're getting to know them. And it's so cool. Yeah. It's so cool. I love it. I love what you do. I love what I do. I love how similar it is. But we go about, a little bit differently.
But it's the same result. It's the same end result. We're building a deep cross-species bond that's going to, bring this bonded, trusted, respectful horse so that they want to be with us. That's the bottom line.
And to work with us. Yeah.
The true test is when you take off the tack, right? Is the horse going to go way far away or is he wanting to be with you and stay there?
Yes. God, I say that all the time. I try to show that a lot of my YouTube videos. I'll get done riding, like Lovey was my star pupil the last few years. I haven't done any filming this year. Like I said, I've really taken a step back with a lot of health concerns with my family.
Sure.
It's important, family comes first, but you'll see Lovey. I tack her up at Liberty. She's either in the aisle or out in the field or, the training area. And when I get off, the bitless bridle comes off and she's dopey. She's like all over, I love you, Mom. This felt so good.
But that's what we
want. The best. Yeah. I'm like, I can't imagine it. That's the magic. And when you have that level of trust and partnership and connection, like you keep saying, your work is easy because the hardest part is trusting each other. Once you can trust each other, like us, right? Then conversation's easy and the chemistry's there. And you got to listen. You got to keep, as humans, we got to keep training ourselves to slow down and listen, though. Don't bypass the horse. A lot to say. It's just real subtle sometimes, or loud, but it's just so cool because the safety is there because they're always thinking about you and they're considering you as part of their family. And it just doesn't get any better than that.
And what you've created in that is that magnetic connection. And that's one of the things that I love that Carolyn has put in her method is that we work with 5 heartfelt strings of connection. And it's the first 5 rituals in the waterhole rituals, which is a bond, trust, respect, willingness, and focus. But if you think about that, those 5 things, there's not one relationship that you could have with a human, with an animal, with a horse that would function minus one of those. So what she did was put together this like magical map that people can say, oh, which string is broken today? Because you, like you said, you got off your horse is still connected to you, right? So all 5 heartfelt strings are vibrating between you and your horse in the moment. You have them all. But lots of trainers have that. They have a magical, wonderful connection with their horse. They didn't do the waterhole rituals necessarily, but they got there. The waterhole rituals just gives people a way to figure it out.
Yes.
Yeah,
I got you there. I totally, because I've got similar, but a different method. I work more with the energy in the first 4 chakras, which are part of the sensory processing. So and that's also how I do my rehabilitation and personal healing, because I'm a survivor of panic anxiety attacks. So I know all about meditation as a teenager and getting back, that's how I started to learn about meditation. But I didn't even know what a chakra was until one of my students apprenticed with me when I got back into this, working with, back into horses. It was so wild, but I could feel where the horse and I would connect energetically, but I didn't know. I didn't take yoga. I wasn't well versed or educated on chakra system or any. I didn't even know what I heard of it, but I didn't even know what it was. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So when you say magnetic, I can feel that. That's one of the things I teach my students, like especially riding is one. You've got to learn how to embody energy and rhythm and the movement on the ground. Develop this with your horse before you ride. Develop the movement biomechanically. Strengthen the horse before you ride the movement. It's only fair to the horse. Well, whereas all the other trainers are out there, get on and trot. Learn to sit and trot while you damage your horse's back because your horse
push through the resistance. Yes. That's the thing too. That magnetic connection is scientific, right? It's birds in flight, right? Stampeding horses, fish. They don't bump into each other. It's entrainment. So when we have that, it's an energetic alignment that you get there one way, I get there another way. But the bottom line is that entrainment is what is happening.
Yep.
And I think
I have it on my website. Yes.
Yeah. I think
that's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
And
it's so similar what we do. It's so exciting to talk to somebody who gets it. I love it too. I can't wait to learn more about the way you do things.
It's so cool. I got to share with everybody how we met. This is just because I'm beaming. It's so cool. About a month ago, right? In November, obviously, right? In Lydia. Your old publicist. You haven't even worked with this person for you don't even know who this person is right now. For 2 years, you said, reached out to me in like a blanket, email. You saw it because it got, I think, forwarded back to you. But whatever Dan said, but would you be interested? I think my client, Carolyn Resnick and Nancy Zintsmaster would be perfect, whatever, guests for your podcast. And I wrote back something like, thank you very much. Yeah, I love their work. I'm very familiar with it, but don't you think that this is going to be, oh, what did I say? Don't you think
Said, I
this
don't
is,
like, you don't usually bring in other trainers or something like it.
I don't bring in trainers
Yeah,
ever because
yeah,
it's a conflict. It's a conflict of interest. I said,
yeah,
isn't this a conflict? We do basically the same thing, just differently.
yeah,
I
yeah.
said, and then I said, he came back and, and he's like, well, kind of smart ass, like, funny you should say that. Most people would think that. And then I came back ever so politely, but I was like, but, we're competitors, if you want to do a collaboration, I would love to. And that's when he didn't say anything. He just threw it onto you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, I'm in. That's cool. I like collaboration.
So because I thought I was still talking to Dan. And I'm like, if I never thought this would happen. I thought you guys knew this was happening and you just were looking for a spot, to promote your work.
Yeah.
And I'm not into that, so I was like, oh, collaboration. I'm thinking I'll never hear back from them. Then you contact me.
Yeah, because it's cool. And, I think that if more people, trainers, I don't even, together. I'm a trainer, but I look at it more like I'm a relationship coach between horses and humans, right? If more of us could work together on this, I think that people are starting to come together and collaborate more. I've noticed a lot of other trainers doing it. I'm so happy about that because there is the one common denominator that I think most people in the horse business want, and that's what's best for the horse. No matter whether we agree with their style or not, they all want the same thing, right?
That's
so
very
it's time that it's a collective community of trainers coming together to support each other.
And with that, we raise the collective consciousness of everyone as a whole. Right. There is a real energetic frequency that we do emit and put out there.
That's right.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
And there's plenty for everyone. There's millions of people out there. So
yeah, you just got to find your fit. You got to find your fit and what works for you. Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to move on to, I love this because I'm right there with you. When you say to only ask yes questions and don't do anything with your horse until you have a yes. Oh, before you tell me about this, I want to say something because this isn't about you, but this is about working together. All of us, let's say all of us professionals, can come to this common place of collaborating and not feeling threatened.
Yes.
But the problem, and you and I talked about this a little bit, or at least I talked about it, and I say this, I voice this often in my podcasts. Let's do it, but let's not steal from each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like that's the thing that bothers me is people the ego gets in the way and it gets competitive. And competition's fine. I'm very competitive. I'm very driven, ambitious, and competitive. But I want my own. I want to discover it myself. I want to learn from you. I want to learn from everyone. I want to continue learning, but make it your own. Don't outright steal.
Yeah.
And as soon as
it just happens a lot.
And as soon as I saw this question, the yes answer, I've heard it somewhere else. And I know that it came from you, that you guys started this.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say anything else.
I know already.
Somebody else. And that upsets me. At least say, hey, I learned this from so-and-so.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And give that credit to that person.
Absolutely. Anyway. Carolyn's work has
been around a long time, you guys.
Right.
40 years.
40 years. She coined the term liberty training. She doesn't even like me to say it anymore, but it's a fact. It's registered to us. But the thing is that so many people have learned from her and so many people have been inspired by her work. And she always encourages people to use the work, but make it your own. You know what I mean? Don't use my work and call it your own, but make it your own. Use it because gosh, it's giving horses a better deal. Yeah. And the thing about the yes questions for us is we call it the entry point of connection. So that hopefully is ours.
Yes.
Right? Entry point of connection. It's how
it should be, it better be.
How do we approach the horse to find that entry point of connection, we're always going to get a yes. And when I teach that in clinics and such, people go, gosh, if I waited to get a yes from my horse, I'd never get to get on him or do anything. But it's so simple, because it's really just about working with whatever you're asking the horse to do. Let's say in the water hole rituals, right?
It's consensual. It's what I call consensual.
Exactly. Different word, but exact same thing. Just if this horse isn't interested in that, I'm not going to push through that resistance. I'm going to go back to what works. I'm always going to get a yes, always. And that's
the point you have to make, is you always get a yes. Like if you do it right and you build on it, there will always be a yes, you guys. There won't be this, well, today my horse didn't want to. If they didn't today, go back to the building blocks. What isn't working? What needs to be strengthened?
Yes.
What do you need to do different? Because eventually it's always going to be a yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's what I love about these 5 heartfelt strings, because when you do not have the connection, let's say you ask the horse and he says, no, it doesn't bother me. I go, okay, which string of connection is broken? So I want to say this too about this method. This isn't a training method. This is foundation work. So you take your business to a whole different level. You've got the foundation and you go into the riding, which I can't wait to ask you some questions about. But, for us, we say, don't stop doing anything you're doing with other trainers. If you're working for Caroline Best, keep doing it, because when you do the water hole rituals, you're going to see a huge shift in everything you do with your horse. And we want people to see the difference before and after. So this is foundation work. So we're asking you to get a magnetic connection with your horse before you ever put on tack, go for a ride, bring in a farrier or a vet, get your magnetic connection. And that is just companion walking. I go out, and every day I go out, I say, hey, you want to go for a walk? If my horse is with me in that moment, I am magnetically connected that moment. It could change from moment to moment. But if I'm not, and he doesn't want to come with me, I have these steps, these 5 steps. They're exercises that I can do to bring it full circle. And within 5 or 15 minutes or however, the horse is connected again. That's how we get our yes. And then we go, okay, we're ready to go for a ride or to do whatever other groundwork or training that we might want to do to advance the horse.
So it's a conversation.
It's a conversation. And now when I think about it, I don't know how I would ever not get a yes, because the horse goes, oh, that, okay. Oh yeah, I get it. You know what I mean? So it's easy to determine when he doesn't, because he's just going to walk away. It's going to be like, I'm out, and we get into trainer's mind. We talk about trainer's mind all the time, because that's what happens. And it happens to me. It happens to Carolyn. The difference is that we know when it happens immediately to stop. Like, gosh, that went so well, I'm going to do it again, so we're not drilling the horse, but and then I'm like, no, got to know when to pause, right? I got to know when to lead, when to follow, when to pause. So that pause allows that horse then to be able to think it through. And usually they say yes. So can't's not the right word. I don't know of any student experience with me, and Lydia, you can attest to this, and Becky's in the chat on YouTube, that you've been with me in person and you've seen many a moment where I'm like, we need a conversation. Hold on. I'm going to stop my clinic. I'm going to stop my in-person training because something's missing between me and my horse right now. Or I'll stop you because something's missing. And if we don't stop, you're never going to catch it, and it's going to escalate. This is how people get hurt. Whatever that catch is, that there's a misunderstanding, or you need to wait for your horse to want to join you, or your horse has hit a threshold and you're not paying attention, that you need the pause. I use that word often. I always reinforce, go slow, 10 times slower than you think. Yes, slow. That's the key. The other thing is, I think that the learning curve as a student, it's not that I'm some great horse whisperer. Okay. I'm not. I know this method.
You're a horse listener.
I'm a horse listener. But I also know the method. So I know how to bring the connection back and to keep bringing it back. So that can look pretty amazing once you know how. But as the student, we're thinking and we're not sure exactly what to do, or the timing is off a little bit. But in that pause is where then the horse, I think, will really give you whatever it was you were asking for anyway, right? Instead of keep pushing through it to figure it out. So I love that that you have that same way.
Good point. As long as you don't push. But yeah, the horse is going to hold that space for you. The horses, I mean, this stuff gets so deep, you guys. We're just touching the surface of it, the foundation of it, because the more you do our work, whether it's, Nancy and Carolyn's or my work or combination, the more you do it, it never ends, the possibility and the opportunities for just amazing things, to think that you can have this 1,000+ pound, magnificent, beautiful, wild, free, powerful, majestic being. I don't think of the horse as an animal, it's a being, a sentient being like us. And to be on the same wavelength with them just is mind-blowing. Like you say, you could pinch yourself where you live. I could pinch myself with the lifestyle that I've created with my horses, you like
I
all
feel
of us,
the same.
we're fortunate to have them in our backyard, right? It's like, oh my God, I just had a conversation with 5 of you and you're all like right here with me. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. I can only hear one at a time,
That's the other thing too.
They're waiting to talk to you.
It's so true. And it's such nuanced work, what we do. Like you can take your students, I'm sure, through it, get them. But, there's a nuance to it, which comes from the self, right? So we try to not teach people to be just like us, like use your intuition, because every horse and every human is different. So there's going to be a million scenarios out there that we can't tell you. How to handle. But if you have some guidelines, like what you share with your students and I share with my students, then they can say, and sometimes if I don't know what to do, or I have a horse that's really got some issues, I just go sit. Like I don't need to do something all the time, So in that sharing of space, a lot's happening. A lot is happening, right? Just developing that cross-species bond. So there's the other thing. It's just about us teaching you to do.
I know. Or to get results, but you are getting results. They're just in a different way. You're getting results that aren't your results. It's the horse's results. It's like, it's really switching that paradigm for humans to think differently about the relationship.
Well, they want it right away. They just want it so fast. They think, what really is mind blowing. And I'm sure I thought the same thing before. You go out and you practice and you expect something to happen and you expect it to happen now, but this could be weeks, And I had a student the other day say in class, the long way, and she's one of our student teachers. She said, the long way is the short way. And I love that, because it might seem like it's taking you a while at Liberty because you're not going, you have to do this with that and the other with tack. But once you get to the other side of that, then everything speeds up, right?
Yes.
And that is something for people to really keep in mind, because Liberty's the answer to give our horses the best life they can have.
Yep, I agree. Oh my gosh, that's similar to one of my core principles in consensual partnership. It's not go slow and stay longer. That's one of them. Oh God, Lydia, help me. But it's where it's like what you just said. It's
the long way is the short way.
Yeah, I can't think. My brain is going a mile a minute. I should know this, right? It's
I know. I have
so crazy
all the time, more and more lately.
We're so similar. I love it. All right, hold on. I'm going on your questions. Hold on.
Okay.
So we're already covering so much of what I wanted to ask. I love
knew
it.
That would happen.
Well, so did I. That's the organic. I want to stimulate it and get it going. But when you can, we've got good chemistry, you and me. So we
do less and get more. Do less and you'll get more.
Less and get more is what I say.
Great. I like that. Do less and you get more. I love it.
It's been around in other variations. Do less and get more. But when I talk about the principle, it's a lot about what you're talking about, where spend more time doing nothing and you'll understand how much more you're gonna be able to get to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this stuff is deep, you guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, you touched on finding your authentic self and personal empowerment with Liberty Training. Anything you want to add to that?
Not really. I mean, I think that there's no way around it. I'm always kind of surprised that, at one point before I met Carolyn, I really wanted to go into equine therapy. And what I found out now is that what I do, it's all the same. I don't take some course to walk people through it. But when you come out and you're doing the water hole rituals, usually whatever one of those exercises, bond, trust, respect, willingness, or focus is going on that the person has a difficulty with, it's directly related to what's going on for them in life. And it's mind blowing to see, like, I don't advertise that somebody's going to have some major transformation in a clinic, but they normally do at some point have a self-realization, like an aha moment that's so big that it transforms their whole life. And I don't think that you can go out and be real or lack of authenticity and get anywhere with the horse, because, I've gone out even today with my horses, not today, but I mean, since I've been in this business, and said, okay, I need to get a video on this, that, and the other. I know all about trainers mind. I teach you not to have it, but I'm like, okay. And I'm said, and then all of a sudden I just laugh. I catch myself and I'm like, I can't do this way. It's just not going to happen. I have to go back to, let's just see where we're at today. And then I'm going to go into, okay, now I've got my video because I have my connection. So I just think there's no way around it. The horse is just not going to be with you if you're not in the right place mentally and you're not completely present to the environment.
Well, and to add to that, beautiful, to add to that, and thank you. You said that so well. Yeah, being authentic doesn't mean you've got your shit together, people. No. It means you're honest. It means you're honest. So a lot of my students are like, but I feel horrible. I'm a wreck. This is going on in my life. And I've been told to avoid my horse, that my horse is a mirror. And I'm like, that's true. Don't avoid them. That's not true. Do not avoid them. I don't say that. Your horse is a mirror, but create through my work, we talk about sacred space and safe space. And it's the energy that we put into it and create that space for you to be vulnerable, to have that connection and conversation with your horse and allow your horse to hold the space for you. Be real. That's all I ask of my students is be real. And that's really hard for a lot of people to own or get in touch with how they feel. They're always taught, we all are, to push through it, ignore it.
Yes.
Don't, be strong means you just push through it and ignore it, and you move on. And
stuff it. Yes.
That's not the definition of courage,
No.
Be real, be authentic, and your horse will understand that you're still want to do something with them, whatever it is, but you're in this space right now. And that's all they care about. They can trust that. There's a congruency there. When you're not congruent, when you're trying to do something, but you're feeling a different way, it freaks them out.
That's
or
the word
pisses them off.
I was searching for, the congruency. When you're incongruent, that's the part where the horse is just like, okay, I'm out. It's too confusing. Because the energy is
everywhere.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, I can't. It's that white noise. Yes. It's like, just be honest and let them know. Believe me, they can hug you. They might even offer the best support you could imagine.
Yeah.
Lydia, do you want to try to get a word in edgewise, Lydia? Have you been trying?
No, absolutely not.
Good. Okay.
No. I feel really excited to just listen and hear you guys jam. And it's like,
now you got two of me.
This is the really cool thing. Is that we all experienced something very young that we looked for and tried to describe. And you guys stuck with it long enough to build a method on it. I learned it with falconry and my master in falconry, because you have to be an apprentice. And so it is very methodical, but it's also very intuitive. You don't
organic.
You don't just let a bird go and expect for it to fly back to you. That's not how that works. So it's very similar, but it's also very different, because they're four-legged and a bird of prey has wings, you know, it's still the environment and
You have
everything. Yeah, it's
Well, and you
very
have two different mindsets. You're
Sure.
working with a predator and we're working with a prey. And it is different. It is linear versus non-linear. It is different. It is cool, but it's similar. But it's
Yeah.
like dogs and horses. It's similar, but it's different.
But you're
So
still
it's so-
building a cross-species bond. You're still, I
Yes.
mean, if, you know, you're
Yes.
still,
Yes.
and that's the deepest bond there is. It's way stronger than a same species bond. So
And-
I find that amazing.
when you
The
have
trust.
a bird of prey that is a merlin, a red tail, or anything bigger, she is prey to that. So when I have a relationship with the bird of prey that is flying and she senses danger because there's a red tail hawk over there, she comes and
That's
looks
right.
for me pretty quick. And she's even dove into the sagebrush
Wow.
and called at me like, say, come get me because I'm scared.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so
Oh my
cool. I have to hear
gosh.
more about what you do someday. Wow.
But it's incredible. But these cross species relationships in the training part is there's more to it than just training. It is
Absolutely. It isn't training. It's really not training.
not.
It's an evolution
I call
of
it development.
connection.
I call it development.
It's development.
And I hate the word training because
I
it
know.
makes it so many. The minute we say that, our brain hooks on to mechanics and technique and performance, and it's not. I'm trying to change that language because I'm a trainer, but I'm training you while you develop yourself and your horse. You develop
That's right.
all
And
the. Yes.
Carolyn started getting away from liberty training, even though that was her term, because of that.
Yeah.
We call it liberty horsemanship now, because this is all about horsemanship. This takes your horsemanship to a whole nother level. We might be focusing here on liberty, but everything in it is serious horsemanship. And if you can do it at liberty, when you put the tack on, you have seen
Yes.
how much your growth in horsemanship has expanded. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, 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 yes. The feel and timing, especially how liberty develops, like when I take it into my method and through the different, what do you want to call it? Like the different arts. There's the art of lunging, and there's several styles of my lunging to further develop the biomechanics and being able to ride the movement, develop the movement, and then into the riding. You can't lose that connection, and that teaches you that intuition, that feel and timing, that somatic experience through the body, so that the body and the two can become one. You know, that centaur. I'm always talking about the centaur.
Centaur connection.
Centaur.
Yeah. Yes.
But you've got to develop that feel and timing. And I've had some great questions over the years with my students, and I'm not an argument, but even some of my students who, you can't teach feel and timing. And I'm like, then why are you in my program? I'm like, everyone has their own feel and timing. I can give you a path, a roadmap like you do, Nancy, in your work to follow, but it's still flexible and teaching you how to be organic, how to trust the process and allow for the organic way.
Absolutely. And there's an art to that. There's an art to feel. And, Carolyn always said, you really can't teach feel. A long time ago, she always said that her father told her you can't teach feel. But then we realized, she and I were talking a couple of years ago, and I'm like, but we are teaching feel. We're giving people the guidelines to be able to take it into their own intuitive path, how to feel, but to stay in soft feel, you have to be able to figure that out and balance that within yourself. And that's when you notice that horse go into a little bit of resistance. Soft feel, what's the definition? Well, there's probably a million, but it's basically about
not force. Don't force it.
You, but the horse not pushing you, and you not pushing the horse. And in that is that soft feel, because so many people's horses are pushing them around, and they say, it's okay because I don't want to push my horse. No. There's a code of conduct of the herd. You need to set boundaries, and then your horse will accept you as a leader. And then there's an opportunity for soft feel, right?
Beautiful. And the opposite, which I see too much of, the opposite is they're pushing their horses around and micromanaging them and pulling them.
Yes.
And even when they think they're in a bitless bridle, because you can't ride with a bit with me, and I prefer a bareback pad that I recommend, but you got to get to the level of riding like that
Sure.
with your horse.
Yep.
It's safe, but they're still yanking their horses around, or the level of excessive force is just like hardwired into us. So, you know, the one thing with the online work that I do teach, because you start at Liberty and then you've got to find and maintain that feel in the line.
Yeah.
Because it's going to teach you how to ride with either bridleless, you know, or ride with minimal aids, you know, not so much of this. So yeah, I'm all about feel and timing, and that is, you'll find your own, and mine will be different. Like you just said earlier, each one of us will bring our own feel, our unique feel and timing into, you know, the engagement or connection we have with any horse. It's going to be different.
I believe that all great horsemen are in soft feel, period. Like however they got there, whether they have their own way, our way, your way.
It's subtle.
It's subtle, but they found that place, right?
Yep, absolutely. No, yeah, it's teaching everybody else to aspire to that, and to recognize that resistance and force is the opposite of softness and giving and being willing. And and I call it in my work, you know, seeking the path of least resistance, and it's part of my Taoist training, so to speak. My Taoist, you know, the path of least resistance. You know, horses can come to me challenged. They can come with trauma, and they're challenged. And it doesn't mean, and this is for my students that have a lot of trauma, right? It doesn't mean that you're not going to hit resistance. It doesn't mean you're not going to, you know, find resistance.
Of course.
In that development that but you've got to recognize when it's there, and then make that choice that, you know, and it is an art. It takes a lot of experience and talent. Honestly, not everybody can be a real specialist. It takes feel and timing and intuition and so many things to a whole nother level of knowing when to hold, when to back off, and when to push a little bit.
Yes,
without
absolutely. That was perfectly said. That's the nuance of it right there.
Oof.
Yeah.
I don't want to scare people, because you and I know, you know, and anyone that's been following us, that most of our horses are damaged, and they all come with different thresholds, you know, damage. But we need to be, as ambassadors of the horse and advocates of the horse, you know, we've got to come in with that mindset, because it's easy for us to get triggered. It's easy. As human beings, we're hardwired, you know, to tighten up and go after. So we got to kind of understand our instincts too, but then our own trauma, you know, and identify.
Brings up a lot.
It's crazy. I know, I've been through it myself. I speak from experience.
Yes, me too.
But wow. Okay. Well, thank you. Let me get on to the next one. So what is the most worthwhile thing that you have put your time into? Something that you've done that changed the course of your life?
Well, obviously what I'm doing now, like I can't, that's so obvious. That completely took me on. And you know, it's funny because my husband is a sailor. He's always had this passion for sailing, and, you know, we've had sailboats, and he's sailed to Costa Rica from the States. I mean, but he was always, his purpose was just to travel and meet people. But I never really had that. Like, I've had a lot of fun things I wanted to do. Like, I opened a lot of different businesses in my life, and I've had that. But this is the first thing that I've ever done that I feel has so much purpose for humans. So for that. But the other thing is just being able to make that move. I think I don't give myself enough, like, not credit's not the word, but I don't see like how great of a thing that we did by pioneering our way here and completely changing our lifestyle and rescuing these horses. And obviously this path isn't something that just happened along the way. It was my I'm sure my journey,
Design your
yeah,
journey.
I
Yep.
don't know how to say it exactly, but it is the greatest thing that I've ever done. And just building this retreat center here, it's not easy to do that here in Costa Rica. It has been the most difficult thing I've ever had to do, was to do construction in Costa Rica and build this. But to be able to have people come here and be part of this beautiful rainforest, be on the land, immerse themselves in the culture of horses, learn the liberty. For me, it's the most worthwhile thing I've ever done, because what I get out of my work every day, just being with my horses, is also transformational for me. So
Yes.
I just, I would say it's
Yes.
all in that bundle, but it's all about the
Yeah.
horses, really.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Following your bliss.
Yeah, following my bliss. And it's not easy all the time, right? But it's there,
Life can get in the way. We can get in the way of ourselves. I mean,
this is hard work. It's hard work.
It's very hard work. Yes. And you have to be determined to really want it. It has to be passion, because otherwise, what would the drive be? Like, the passion for what we do keeps us going, even when we're tired or sick or going through life's challenges. For me, it's like I go back to, I love what I do. I have to, a lot of times, really, because now my work is my passion. So a lot of times I have to say, okay, let's play with the horses, and work is separate, right?
Yes. Yes.
I love writing program and doing all that. So
no, there's that balance. It's finding that balance. But sometimes it's like, for the last few years, I said in the beginning, or maybe before we started recording, I don't remember now, but, I think in the beginning of this podcast, I've spent the last few years building my online courses and my presence and my content. And I used to film every week until this year of 2022. And oh my gosh, I'm so glad I've been able to step away from that. I'm still spending most of my time though in front of the computer, but I am going to be announcing, I'm announcing right now, but in January, I'm going to open my doors back to clinics and traveling, and,
wonderful.
I closed those doors for years because I needed to. I was burned out from that. You get burned out.
Well, COVID, and all of that too, the pandemic, like that was in there.
Yes.
So you have to admit, I mean, it
That
stunted the traveling for me too.
Got us all online learning though, didn't it?
It did, and it broadened our classes online, and it gave more people. It was so much good came from it too. So, but I think that's exciting that you're going to do that. And it's hard, when the other thing about this work, and this I'll just say real quick between you and me, is that I feel when I'm the only one, Carolyn and I, that can put the information out. Because we're the experts in this particular thing that we're doing. You are in your thing. It's not like you can get an assistant and just say, hey, could you write this program? Sure, they could edit it, but it puts you in front of your computer a lot to share with the world. So
when you're building the business the way we are with the online content, anyone in our industry, it's tough. That's why I've got my A team, I call it. That was one of the things I thought about a couple of years ago when I launched my mastery membership program, because it's really for committed students that want to learn this way. It's not just a 12-week course. I mean, this is a lifetime.
Sure.
It was my
apprenticeship program. A lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lifestyle change completely. But from there, I was designing in my head, I'm going to watch these students and hopefully be able to pick, select a handful of them or more that can help me when the time is right. And I've been blessed this year. Lydia is one of them, with those handful of students who, hey, I want to help out, the best I can. And I believe in you. And it really, I can't thank them enough. It's been, I couldn't and wouldn't want to do this alone. And I want, I've hired people before to help me as assistants. And if their heart's not in the work, it doesn't work out.
I agree with that. We did that too. We have a handful, and we're very picky, of certified instructors that are coming along, that are graduating now. One just graduated, but it's a relief to me because then I can send them out and people can get more education, because everybody can't access me and I can't travel every day of my life. So I think
I'm not there yet. I got to get the certified. I had I had certified students many, many years ago when I used to have this program on base. Like you could only do it if you came and spend a minimum of 3 months with me, one-on-one, a minimum.
Yeah.
That's why now I made it online and even more. But I wasn't getting you and I talked about this, Nancy, and Lydia knows, I wasn't getting the right caliber. I was getting too young, too young, beautiful, but just too young, too immature, honestly. Like they don't know what they want to do with their life. And, or their parents were throwing the money and throwing them at me to be their mother, all that. I'm like, no, I need someone older who is more, is like, hey, I want, like you do, like I'm sure you have with your certified students. They know they want to make this a career.
It's a career for them, and they are older, more in our target market.
Yes.
So
you have to, So I'm looking forward to
talking about training people again. We're talking about training people again.
That's exactly right. That's what we do.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's what it's all about.
I had a career of gardening. It was impossible. Like, you would think, you're raised with a grandmother who showed you how to use a shovel. Well, they're not anymore. Kids are not raised with a rake or a shovel in their hand.
No, not at this age.
How did you know what it's for?
Yeah, mine too. Yeah. But no.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Yeah, we're gonna switch gears here. Yeah. And we're good. Yeah, but I'm getting burnt out, and I'm tired, and we don't need to dive into me. This also, we've been able to just kind of weave our stuff together, I think, beautifully.
Absolutely. I'm happy. I think that we've been able to share a lot about ourselves with our audience and get Liberty training out there to those who don't know what it is.
Yes, that's the main goal, was Liberty.
I think in most of these questions that I had for you, you kind of answered them anyway.
Yeah, I think so too. And everybody knows where to find me, and they know now if they don't know of you, they know now where to find you, CarolynResnick.com.
Yes.
And y'all know who I am. So this has
been
a good
time of year to go to Florida and Costa Rica, people.
Yeah, that's right.
I know.
Right, guys. You can come to both of our places and study with us independently. We're not together, not yet. You never know.
I have one spot available that in January if somebody wants to come for a retreat.
And how would they get?
They can just contact me on CarolynResnick.com at contact us.
Awesome.
So it's a semi-private retreat, and this girl said, I want to come, but I need another person. So I'm just going to start putting it out there. So maybe you can come, Caroline.
God, I love that. I'd love to come to Costa Rica.
You will. I'm gonna manifest it.
Yeah, likewise. This isn't the end. When Lydia needs to get out of Idaho.
There we
winter.
go. Yeah, you need to come.
Here, go there.
My best friend,
and you guys
in Costa Rica, and I haven't even been there to see them yet. So
then you guys do that. You
gotta come.
All right. Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Caroline. This has been such a blessing to get to know you better and to be able to share what we do, have this commonality. I love it. It's great.
I do too. And I look forward to many blessings over the holiday to you, all of you. I always say God bless, and may you always be one with your horse. You know where to find Nancy, and you know where to find me. And next week, we have a podcast real quick with Chris Newkirk. Lydia, right? Next Wednesday? Yes.
I think so.
And I totally forget what the title is. Chris, you guys, we've met her before.
The season of
she's an amazing psychotherapist that gets into like off the chain holistic healing modalities.
I have to get on that. I'd love to hear about that.
She's been like 40 years. What, hon?
It's called Working with the Higher Self.
Yeah, working with their higher self. So levels of higher consciousness and healing. And her podcast, we did a podcast real quick with her this summer, if I remember correctly, but it's been one of our most popular podcasts. It's had a lot of downloads. I'll have to
go back and listen to it. Yeah.
She's amazing. She's amazing. So I'm looking forward to that. And then then that's it until next year. So thank you. All right.
Thank you.
God
Thank you
bless.
so much.
Bye.
God
Bye,
bless.
Nancy. Bye,
Bye.
Lydia.
Bye.
Bye, guys.